You know, there are games that are difficult to describe with specific genre, because when remembering a specific genre, the images that appear in our heads are completely different from those that represent the game. Surely, when you mention an arcade, everyone will remember Mario-like games or Pac-Man. And when you mention adventures, they will remember Uncharted, Tomb Raider or The Walking Dead from Telltale Games. But the game I'm going to tell you about belongs to the genre where the story and visual design come to the first place, and everything else fades into the background. You can easily attribute them to these kind of games. Valiant Hearts: The Great War tells the beautiful story of 4 people forced to go to war. Child of Light follows the adventure of little Aurora, who must return the sun, moon and stars that were stolen by the evil Queen of the Night. Ori and the Blind Forest tells the story of a spirit who tries to restore the forest after a cataclysm. And now, on a par with these wonderful games, I can put Little Goody to shoes. The game tells us a story about a girl Elis, who was found by an old woman in the forest and raised as her daughter. But one day she died, and Elis was left alone. She is forced to work in the village to support herself, and she very often fell into depression about this. She wanted to live in a castle, have a bunch of servants and give all her work to them. One day she stayed in the village for too late, and when she returned home, she found out that someone had broken into her house. It is worth nothing that in the village everyone is talking about a witch who terrifies the village, but at the same time Elis has never seen her, and therefore doesn't believe in her existence. But this time she began to think that it was she who had entered her house. She lives in the wilderness and anything can happen. After looking around a little, she found the girl Rosemary in her barn, looking for a house to spend the night. Elis trusts her and they begin to live together. At a Sunday service in the church, she finds a strange note pointing to some cave where a secret ritual was performed, and Elis begins to understand that it was dropped by one of the church visitors. Something is happening in the village, but so far she doesn't attach any importance to it. And she begins to have strange dreams, as if she is walking around a castle from which there is no exit, and her portraits are hanging on the walls. And the strange spirit muttered something about a wish that the mysterious he would fulfill, but it never came true. One day she finds red shoes in her yard, and the witch appears who says that he chose Elis, and that he knows about Elis' desire and can fulfill it. She just needs to follow some kind of a ritual. Well, further the story gets twisted, and I can't say anymore, because it would be a dirty spoiler. I can only say that the game has 10 endings, both good and bad. Some characters will turn out to be completely different from those who they really are, and some endings will tell you things that you won't learn from others. For example, in one ending you will learn a true story about Elis and her grandmother, which reveals the attitude of the residents towards you. In other, you experience injustice on the part of the villagers. In the third, you will learn the true story of Rosemary, and so on. The game is a 2D adventure game with horror elements. She is drawn very well. The music in the game is simply amazing. The videos are made in the style of 90s anime, which on the one hand I'm not a fan of, but on the other hand they are made very stylishly and are interesting to watch. All this perfectly transports you into the world of the game, immersing you in the story itself more and more. The first associations I had with this game were the old Princess Maker game, where you have a day and you can do one thing on that day. We have 3 periods before noon and 3 periods after noon. Time passing here only when you perform actions that require time. For example, you can work in a village where different types of work are presented in the form of mini games. Somewhere you need to chop wood and somewhere you need to pick apples, skipping the rotted one. For completing tasks you receive money, which you can use to buy food which restores your hunger, health and sanity. But there are also tasks that also take up time. Also, there are 3 girls in the game with whom you can build relationships, in a sense to be friends. You just spend time with them learning their story, but this also takes time. And so you will have to choose what to do: work, conduct your research on a secret ritual, or spend time with your friends. By the way, choosing a girlfriend is very difficult. Sometimes a friend from church will notice that you are hungry and will give you a free bread, complaining that she can't bear to watch her friends go hungry. And this helps me out a lot, since I only had money for 1 loaf of bread. And Rosemary says that thanks to Elis, she learned a lot: to fish, to make a jug out of clay and cook. And all this is very captivating. The horror elements are not scary, but they are done quite atmospherically, and some openings can kill you with one hit. Even having all the hearts doesn't save you. You need to make sure that your lighter is always on in the dark, otherwise your sanity decreases and Elis begin to panic. Well, since the residents are too superstitious, they suspect that Elis is a witch if she begins to behave too suspiciously, because she lives alone in the forest and all sorts of strange things happens in the village. For this reason, she will have to make sure that no one gives any reason to doubt that Elis is an ordinary girl. You will have to bribe Muffy with food, the little shit who found out that Elis was housing Rosemary. Otherwise, the villagers will consider it suspicious. You will have to watch that you say to other people and not get confused in your made-up stories so that you do not arouse suspicion. Overall, the game is very interesting. It will definitely appeal to those people who like Child of Light, and will definitely be interesting to those who like interesting stories. Interesting fact: there is a children's story with the same title, Little Goody Two Shoes, by John Newbery, which was published in London in 1765. The story is about a very poor girl who walked all her life in one shoe and didn't have anything else. One day a gentleman passing through the village saw this and gave her a beautiful pair of shoes, after which she ran to the village and told everyone about it. In the game, Elis also runs into the village and tells everyone about this event, and the prototype of Elis coincides with the prototype of that same girl from the children's story. Well, Extreme Angel was with you. Press the like button if you like this review, leave comments on this video to promote it, and also subscribe to the channel if you don't want to miss new reviews. Support the channel on Patreon and buy me a coffee. This will allow me to release videos more often, and I will be glad that someone supports me. Bye everyone!